Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Let's continue here now. The Independent Electoral Commission has urged South Africans who are not yet registered to do so. Some voting registration stations did not open on time, while others remained closed due to some residents protesting over service delivery. To understand how these protests affected registration and to get a national view of day one of the voter registration drive this weekend, we're now joined by the Deputy Chief Executive of the Independent Electoral Commission, Mr. Masego Sheburi. Sir, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. So by midday today, you did report that 326,000 people visited the stations this morning. Today's voter registration is likely, you said, to surpass the existing highest record on a single day. Just give us some of the numbers in terms of what transpired on day one. Are you nearer to your 1 million mark?
Conservatively, we estimate that we have had interactions with 900,000 persons at the level of the voting stations. In other words, we have interacted with over 900,000 South Africans who came to stations either to register, to update their details, or just to verify their registration details. Additionally, we estimate that over 50,000 have registered on the online portal today alone. So that number of 50,000 surpasses the record that we set yesterday. Because the registration is still ongoing, we anticipate that we will be headed for a new record for online registrations in a single day. The figure that we recorded for in-station registration compares favorably with our best registration activity over one day in 2019.
Now, of course, what is of concern is that some voting registration stations could not open today. Some opened late. Just bring us up to speed in terms of how many centres were affected. We do know, of course, over 26,000 centres were made available for South Africans across provinces. Just how many of those were affected, and what is likely to happen then over the next couple of days, particularly tomorrow, which is your last day of the drive this weekend?
In any big operation like a registration event implicating 23,296 voting stations and 69,000 individuals who are registration officers, there are bound to be mistakes or departures from the standard. The measure of our preparedness is how soon and how swiftly we respond in those areas. We know that at 8 o'clock, 90% of our stations had opened. By 8:30, the residual of the voting stations had opened. The things that we are responsible for, where we take responsibility, would have been late opening owing to the effects of inclement weather. There were a number of stations that we could not access by road. We had to wait for stakeholders like the South African Police Service to assist us to traverse those terrible terrains. In isolated instances, some of our staff did not pitch up or they pitch up late, but in all those instances, we were able to recover and open those stations no later than 30 minutes from the time at which we were due to open. There's a second category of stations that either did not open or opened for part of the day or opened intermittently during the course of the day. And there we struggled with what we understand to be people who have grievances unrelated to the Electoral Commission, but they use the Electoral Commission to profile their grievances. So some of those grievances are related to ward boundary determination or even municipal boundary determination. The Commission is not responsible for those. Others are responsible with dissatisfaction with traditional leadership or dissatisfaction with councillors or perceived lack of service delivery. In those instances, we've tried to appeal to the communities to allow us to operate, and where we could not, we've left the matter in the hands of the South African Police Services, who were assisting us to open some of those stations. So there were stations that were open, there were those that remained closed for the rest of the day.
Let's talk about things that are within your control. Of course, a lot of people were not given their right to go and register today, given those protests, inclement weather aside. What then is your contingency plan for tomorrow? Because, I mean, people want to go and register to vote. It is a democratic right to vote next year. Some of them cannot go online, given restrictions on that front. So what are some of the contingency plans that you have in place for tomorrow?
We persist with engagements with those all affected, so that tomorrow we could have conditions under which people can exercise their right to participate. And where we are able to open those stations, on our part, we have made plans to make additional resources available so that we can catch up for the lost time for today. However, if it becomes impossible, even with our best efforts, to open those stations, we advise those community members to go on the online portal, upload their ID images, create a profile, and register online. Alternatively, persons can visit our voting stations during the operation hours during the day to register as voters at those levels, or attend any of our activations in communities where they will also have opportunities to register or to re-register if they are already registered.
Mr. Sheburi, as we wrap up our interview, and in light of some concerns that you have uttered in as far as your CEO is concerned, which includes voter apathy, particularly as it speaks to the youth, just given what has transpired today in some of the provinces, not a lot of people coming out to register, to vote, would you say as the IEC you have done enough to create awareness about the importance of voting, particularly as it speaks to the youth?
The matter of participation in the public affairs of the country can't be relegated only to an election management body. On our part, we do not subscribe to the notion that there is apathy on the part of the youth. We think we know from our research that youth have specific views, they have specific concerns, and if those are not attended, they militate against their participation. But what we know is that once registered, young persons are more likely to turn up and vote than any age cohort. Just to illustrate the point, of the 71% of the young persons that registered for the first time in 2021 actually came out on election day and voted. So we persist with our focus on young voters, working with stakeholders, including political parties, NGOs, media persons like yourself, so that we can animate young persons to register, so that if they make the ultimate choice to participate, at least they are already registered as voters. But we do not take light of some of the lived experiences that dissuade and militate against young persons participating in democracy processes.
Masego Sheburi is the Deputy Chief Executive of the Independent Electoral Commission. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.